Great Neck is not where I grew up, but it is where I matured musically. From 1960 to 1970, I was studying with Ellie Siegmeister at 56 Fairview Avenue, and with the piano teacher that he sent me to on Detail Drive, Olga Heifetz. And it was with her that I studied most of the Debussy piano music that I know. Ellie Siegmeister also sent me to Nadia Boulanger, with whom I studied in Fontainebleau and Paris. Debussy's father, Manuel Achille Debussy, was a middle-class owner of a china shop and was arrested for political activities during the Paris Commune of 1871. In prison, he met Charles de Sivry, whose sister, Mathilde, later married the poet Paul Verlaine, and whose mother, Antoinette Flore Claria, later Madame Motet de Fleurville, claimed to have studied with Frédéric Chopin and became Debussy's first piano teacher. He would always acknowledge having learned a lot from her, especially about pedaling, and how well she prepared him for the Conservatoire, where he began studying at age 10. I'm going to start with 3 of his short piano pieces, which are often played by students. Among Debussy's teachers at the Conservatoire was Émile Durand, who may have been related, I'm not sure, nobody seems to be sure, to Debussy's colleague Jacques Durand. Jacques, who premiered with Debussy, 4 hands, the first piece that I'm going to play for you. Jacques later transcribed it for 2 hands, but in so doing modified the grand spaciousness of the original, a quality which was distinctive for Debussy and which influenced not only Ravel, but Baird, Stravinsky, Copland, Messiaen, Boulez, Carter. In fact, Roger Nichols wrote, "Few later composers have been uninfluenced by Claude Debussy." I myself confess I wrote a piece for clarinet and piano, Opus 13, my first year in college, and decided to discard it because it was too much, just too much like Debussy. In the version of En Bateau from the Petite Suite that I'm going to play for you, I have restored Debussy's original voicing. You may recognize the tune as it was a theme from Nimet's radio program on WQXR at midnight for many years. I'll follow it with the first Debussy piece I ever studied, the Rêverie, which you may also recognize. In the 1930s, it was made into a popular song called My Reverie, and my mother found the lyrics on the internet. The third piece in this set is the finale of Debussy's Children's Corner suite, which he wrote for his only child, Emma Claude, called Chouchou, born the night before Halloween in 1905. Unfortunately, she died in a diphtheria epidemic 1 year after her father. She was 14. There are 2 things you need to know about this piece, the Gollywog's Cakewalk. First, the Gollywog was a black caricature rag doll invented in 1895 by Florence Kate Upton, who was born in Flushing, New York, in 1873. A cross between a dwarf-sized black minstrel and an animal. In the first half of the 20th century, it was a favorite child's soft toy in Europe, surpassed only by the teddy bear. In the 1960s, it became criticized, along with Little Black Sambo, as racist and demeaning. But this cakewalk, or minstrel dance, inspired by his daughter's toy, was one of Debussy's few excursions into Americanism, which he later criticized in Ravel and others. It also pokes fun at one of the icons of late 19th century music, Tristan und Isolde by Richard Wagner, an opera which begins with this unresolved chord progression. Now, what Debussy, oh yes, we neglected to say, please turn off your cell phones. And please no flash photography. Tristan inspired that, I guess. The chord that Wagner left unresolved, Debussy invokes and resolves it his way. You'll hear that in the piece. Debussy's relation to Richard Wagner is actually fascinating. Tannhäuser had been a scandal at the Paris Opera, and Debussy spent hours studying that score with one of his teachers, Albert Lavignac. In fact, they became so engrossed, the janitors at the conservatoire didn't realize that they were still there and locked them in. So they had to grope their way out of the chateau in the dark. And Helene and I had a similar experience in 1996 when we gave a concert in memory of Marthe Boulanger, and we were locked in at night in the very dark Chateau de Fontainebleau. I'll say a little bit more about Wagner, but first, these first three pieces.